Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to UoBMAL TV. I'm your anchor, Patrick Pitts. Today we are joined by several special guests, the President of the Syrian Arab Republic, His Holiness, the Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia, and the Vice President of the former Islamic State of Iran. We'd like to thank our guests for taking time out of their busy and hectic schedules on this day to join us. To start off this panel, I would just like to invite our honorable guests to give a brief overview of, events and how they see things in their respective countries. Perhaps 30 seconds, starting with you, Mr. President.
For the Syrians, it's not been an easy time. We have gone through so much war and devastation, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We have demonstrated that we're at the forefront of diplomacy, being the only secular foothold of the Middle East. We have demonstrated our military effectiveness to counter these regionally sponsored rebels who want only to bring us back to 1,500 years ago. There is great hope happening in the Middle East and in Syria right now.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you.
His Holiness, the Grand Mufti.
Yes, Saudi Arabia also has been deeply troubled by developments in the region, in the wider region, particularly the use of aggression in this context. Our Holy Quran, of course, condemns aggression, and it says, "Be not the aggressors, for God loves not the aggressors." To always maintain the side and always be on the side of peace. So our call is for unity across the region, really.
Thank you, Your Holiness. And to you, Madam Vice President.
So as a stable Islamic State, we support our Ayatollah, and we are now able to set up an Islamic community and to protect all the Islamic population.
Back, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, His Holiness and Madam Vice President, do you each find yourselves isolated at this point in the crisis? Or have you engaged successfully in diplomatic relations with other countries that are participating? You have the floor, Mr. President.
I think regional actors are seeing that Syria is demonstrating a willingness to cooperate for peace and stability within the region. And Russia, Iran and China have been key allies in pushing back the satanic state that takes over the northern Syrian territory. And I'm glad to say that finally we see an uncolonial kind of cooperation with each other that focuses on human rights, stability and for peace.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. His Holiness.
I cannot say I agree with the current understanding of the circumstances in the region today that Assad has put across. I would say that actually it does not seem that players in the region are working for stability. In fact, Iran has recently invaded a sovereign country. We know that there should be that we should fight for peace, and until there is freedom of religion in the region. And I think now people are fighting for their vain interests, national interests, not Allah's interests.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Madam Vice President.
We don't feel isolated because we are not the only one who fight against ISIS. So we have, of course, Syria with our allies and Russia, and we have a neutral relation with Saudi Arabia.
To wrap things up, do any of our special guests have any questions aimed at anyone else in this room, perhaps?
I have a question for the Grand Mufti. You yourself advocate that women don't drive, that Christians do not preach in the country, and you implement harsh Sharia law to keep the country in check. Now, it came as no surprise for me and the world that it looked like Saudi Arabia was canoodling with ISIS and funding them. Now, I ask, will you cooperate in the utmost support for investigating these links with the international community to rid this rumour of Saudi Arabia funding ISIS?
I think if the Honourable Mr. Assad had seen the developments earlier today, that was one of the first things that was stated today, that our king and now our new king also support these links, and we've been taking steps to address those issues. Yes, so of course.
An affirmation. Well, thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen.
Could I have one just Just a look at a broader thing. I would say that one thing with the situation in the whole region is that we've forgotten our way, really. We've lost what is important in the region, which is to establish religion and faith in Allah. Before, the root of our actions would be the belief in God. But now the root of our actions is our own narrow interests. If people return to God, have fear, and ask for mercy, things will resolve themselves. But we must remember that we're all brothers in this region. We must not act, for Assad, for Iran.
Well, that about wraps things up here. I'm Patrick Pitts. This is UoBMAL TV, signing off.